Hey guys, how's everybody? Hope you're well. As promised, I'd get into a little bit of the port work on this. There's honestly not going to be much of anything. It's mainly going to be showing you a before and after. Where we are at right now, and take note, I'm saying cleaned up. If you want to call it machined, you can, but what I've done, anyone could do by sanding. If you've got a flat surface, if you've got something to sand and clean up the combustion chamber, that is basically all I've done. Squish right now is at 22 thousandths. That's perfectly fine. You know, there's a lot of room. You could pull a lot of material out of that band. The base is super thick. You could cut her down super thin if you wanted to go that route, but for what I'm doing here, what we're going to do, this saw will be plenty badass enough, I promise you. You can refer back to the last one that I brought back from the dead. It was nearly stock. We had polished the exhaust port on it, cleaned it up, polished it, muffler mod, and that was it. Other than that, that saw was stock, and it was one strong ass saw. Now my full-blown 660 I done as a get-together saw, I think it was still a good 33% faster than that saw on the same piece of wood, same bar and chain, same day. And if you're comparing one saw against another, I feel that's how you should do it. If you're racing, there's a lot of operator error can come into play there, but if you're comparing one saw against the other, you should be running the same bar and chain, same piece of wood, same day. It's just my thought process on that. But anyway, to each their own, not what this is about, but where we're at, and I'm perfectly happy with these numbers. All we're going to do is some cleanup work, be a simple woods port. Nothing's going to be hogged out on it, so don't get disappointed there. Once I pull the cylinder, I'll show you why, but 22 thou squish. Once the exhaust port's cleaned up and polished, it'll probably be like 98.5. Right now it's like 98.9, toggling to 99. These older cylinders seem to have a little better port timing than, say, a later model 660. Transfers crack at 122. Take note, they are staggered, so that number does vary as the piston comes down, I guess is what I'm saying, but they start cracking open at 122. That's a 23 and a half blow down. That's not god awful bad. I've run a lot of saws there. A lot of my saws end up somewhere between 19, 22, 23 degrees of blow down. Some saws we choke up a little further, but there's no one size fits all of this. Some really like a short blow down, others don't. I feel they end up the kind of a soggy throttle. You can't run as much intake timing, which is the point I'm getting at here. The intake on this with the base cleaned up and the chamber cleaned up, and that squish is at 79. There's a little bit of wiggle room there. I've taken them to like 81, 82 on these, and you still have, you know, good enough throttle response, and they sit and idle good enough. But take note, if you're raising the transfers on these saws a lot, and I've fooled around with these things quite a bit, if you're wanting to run shorter blow down on them, and I know some of you other guys have probably figured this out, you can't run nowhere near as much intake timing. You're limited probably around 150, 152 total open degrees, if even that. But anyway, we got our piston mounted. It's a Duke's. I've not done anything to it but mount it. That's generally about all I do with a lot of them here lately. If you're having to clean up and work on a piston before it goes on the saw, you probably bought a piece of trash anyway. I have gotten some that look pretty rough out of the box, sharp edges and all of that, but this piston here, like most of the others I've got from the Duke, it looked freaking amazing. not worried about it at all. And I've bought more expensive pistons that, in my opinion, were just pieces of crap. But with that said, like I said, all we've done is clean stuff up. You can see the band up there, you can see the base, and you can do any of this with sandpaper however you see fit. Or if you've got a lathe, chuck it up, clean it up, and as you can see, that base is super thick. Like I said, there's a lot of room could be done with this saw. It could be taken a lot further, but the reason I'm not doing that is I really don't want epoxy in the cylinder. This may end up in the mill, it may not. That mill will jar that epoxy loose. I don't care how clean you've got it, who put it in. That mill, pass after pass after pass, it will jar that epoxy loose. I've had it happen. Saw goes pig rich, big cloud of white smoke. You retune the carburetor and go on about your business. Honestly, the last one I had to do it, I'm not even going to pull the saw back down to re-epoxy it because, hell, it's idling fine and running good, so I'm just going to leave well enough alone. And I've ran these shit out of that saw after it done that. But again, this thing probably find itself in the mill. Those numbers are a-okay. Is it going to be a race saw? No, it's not. But again, it will kick the shit out of a stock one. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do what port work I'm going to do. It's going to be very little. I'll bring you guys back, give you a look, and we'll probably wrap this up. Alright guys, look at the port work, or kind of like thereof. Not a lot to show here. If I can get the light on the uppers right, I never can. Hopefully it's showing up good enough. They were raised, but not a lot. Didn't touch the lowers. They're pretty dang big on this cylinder, as you can see. And not really any casting imperfections or anything. They look pretty good. Exhaust port, and I did clean it up, did polish it. We can get a light in here and be like some of you guys do and make it look prettier than it is. I'll promise you it looks pretty good. It looks good enough. Looks good enough for an old work saw anyway. Look from the inside. I'm trying to look at it through the monitor of the camera to make sure I'm showing it to you guys. And as far as the intake, there was some casting imperfections in it. Cleaned those up and just left the cartridge roll finish on it, and it's good enough. It's plenty big enough, plenty wide enough. You know, it's got damn near 160 degrees of total open duration anyway. Opening time, opening at 79, you can figure it'll close at 80 and some change. So we're right there at that 160 total open time. I guess that's about it. I'm gonna get it here on the saw and we'll recheck everything once it's all glued and set on the saw, and I'll give you the final numbers on it. And whether I get it together enough this evening to run, who knows. There's a lot of little stuff that's got to be put back on the saw and got to be done. The tank really looks like it needs flushed out again. I've flushed it once, but I may take some old mix I've got here and flush it again. I've yet to put the new fuel line in. I have done the impulse, but we'll just have to see. Guys, plastic looks like shit. What I'm gonna do I've got some orange paint that might match this. This was originally on my 064, but it kind of hung over the cases too far, so I ended up. The 064 is a little narrower than an 066 if you're not familiar. I've seen a lot of guys talk about back in the day putting the 064 recoil and flywheel and stuff on a 66 to make a lightweight 066, which you could easily do, but I'd bought that. It's old school flat top. There's no decomp hole in it. Depending on who you are, you might need a decomp for this. It's pretty healthy. I mean, it had 22,000 squish with the band cleaned up and, you know, the base cleaned back up. But final numbers ended up being, once it was all torqued down, said and done, glued, 98, 121, and 79. That was after the cleanup and the polish on the exhaust port. It moved it a little further than I thought, which the port was pretty damn dirty. I thought I'd scraped everything away, but maybe not. Half a degree ain't gonna make or break the build, or at least in my experience it don't. But what I'm probably gonna do is either just try to paint this to match, or maybe just dye it black or paint it black. I do have the chain brake band. It was fine. I've got the chain brake handle. I just kind of wanted to hear it run. All I done to the carb was pulled the diaphragm cover, and there was still just some old fuel in it. It hadn't completely set up the varnish, but was right there. And as far as the muffler, what I done, I opened up this hole. I drilled about a, I don't know, not quite a 3/4 inch hole in the front of the baffle. What I'll end up doing, maybe not, I don't know, the saw's not real loud. I kind of like it, and as you can see, it's super snappy. I've got it set pretty rich, but it gets up on the pipe pretty quick. I'll heat cycle it a little more, and we'll get us a bar and chain set up. I don't want to completely dog on it when I first go to cut them with it, but might get it out and make some cuts with it tomorrow, even if it's not pouring the rain here. I think they're giving the rain about all day again, though. But again, this plastic kind of looks like shit. I may, when I shut this camera off, pull it off and see if the color I've got even comes close to matching what I'd painted on this. And that was done probably 4 years ago. That plastic's just kind of set here in a box, but she come together pretty good. That starter cover, that's an aftermarket cover. I'd actually pulled the guts out of it to put in another saw a while back, and it was just sitting there with no guts in it, so I ordered a kit from the Duke, a rebuild kit, and all is well on that, as well as, if you guys remember, it's an aftermarket Farmer Tech cover. I'd like to tell you I rebuilt it all with completely OEM stuff, but I'd be lying to you. It's got a Duke's piston, the Duke's bearings. It was like a no-name gasket set. Ain't many people making the short tank stuff, and this is a short tank saw. It's as old school gets. It was a decomp saw, and it was a mag with the HD filter set up. And what's funny, I don't know how many of you have seen this, and I need to take this cover off anyway. 9 times out of 10 on these saws are on your 660s, and the last 66 I done here, they're all plastic. That one's magnesium. The cover that goes over top of the carburetor. But anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap this one up, guys. By now maybe you've seen the video of this 250 tear down. I'm gonna have to go in and see what all we need to get for that. I think I'm gonna try to reuse the cylinder on that, just get a piston kit and a bunch of other miscellaneous things from Farmer Tech. Hopefully it won't nickel and dime me to death, but anyway, thank y'all for watching. Everybody stay safe, and as always, have a good day.